everybody. I think it's pretty safe to say that we're not going to be getting this out before 11 because it's well past 11 Eastern Time. But we are going to get this thing out. Once again, if you're just joining us, this is what a full reading will look like. And if you're interested in getting one for yourself or one for someone else, simply drop into the link tree in the description down below. Send me something off of that. Anything 35 and under gets you 2 readings and a birthday reading. And anything over that gets you 4 and a birthday reading, for a total of 5 readings there. And if you just want to watch these and continue to enjoy the free ones, that's okay too. One thing I did want to mention, more important than personal readings, and yes, this is far more important to me, I also have a link in the description below. It's going to be before my link tree. It's going to be the first link down there. I want you to go and check that out. And here's the reason. A friend of mine had a heart attack about 2 years ago, and the medical bills are piling up on him, and he has swallowed his pride and decided to ask for help. Ask for our help. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I know not everybody's in a position to give, and I completely 100% understand that. However, we are all in a position to help. Here's how. We are all in a position to at least share that link. I've shared it out to all my social media, and within 2 days, now whether that's due to my social media or not, within 2 days, he is a third of the way to his goal. I would like for all of you, if you can't give, that's fine. Like I said, I completely understand. However, I would love for all of you to at least share it out. You never know, you may catch an eye or two who can. And if you can give any amount, nothing is too small, even if it's so much as $1, will absolutely help. I will personally consider it a very generous gift, and I will thank you so much for it. And if all you can do is share, know one thing. That is no small task that you performed. It's one I also appreciate. So, I will thank you all for sharing that link out to your social media sites and getting it a little visibility. And helping a family man out. The man has a son, he has a fiancée, and, well, he has a friend over here that just expressed that he would like it, me. I would like him to be around a little longer, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think we all would, and this is why I tell all of you, if you're not eating healthy, try eating healthy. If you're not exercising, try exercising. It doesn't have to be anything, like you don't have to become a bodybuilder, you don't have to become a marathon runner, just make some small changes today. You never know where they could lead. As for me, I've already lost 45 pounds doing what I'm doing, and I feel better than I have in years. So, today, as always, I've got the Viking Oracle, I've got the Spirit Animal Oracle, I've got our runes as always. I also have Celtic Tarot and Angels and Ancestors. We're going to be consulting with our ancestors. We're going to be engaging in a little bit of that Othala energy and trying to see just what is it those who came before us would like to share with us. Little wisdom imparted from them, and wisdom on the day of Odin is exactly what we need. So let's get right down to it. Let's start with us. Who are we today? Wouldn't you know it? On his own day, he shows up. Didn't we talk about wisdom? Here's the thing about Odin. A lot of people think that he just sits on the throne of Valhalla and Asgard, and that's where he is. And his ravens always report to him, and he's always taking the food that's given to him and feeding it to his wolves, getting freaky. And he only subsists on wine. But that is not true. Odin decided he was going to get up and he was going to travel the 9 worlds. and he was going to be seeking wisdom. In his travels, he gained experience, and in experience lies wisdom. When you can gain that little bit of insight into something that you never thought possible, when you're able to venture outside of the comfort zone just a little bit, you can kind of decide whether something is for you or not for you, and then you can move on. You see? It's very, very simple, but how are we being guided? Well, we're being guided by Skadi. And Skadi lets us know one thing. You have to be true to yourself. You have to know who you are, you have to know what you're worth, and you have to be unwilling to compromise that. It's one thing to compromise, say, okay, I'm taking this position, you're taking this position. Now we give some ground till we meet in the middle. Maybe it's not everything we want, but it's what we need, and we can do that moving forward. What is not permissible or acceptable is for you to demand that they come all the way over to you or you to them. This is not an us or them situation anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And will continue to only tear things apart. For those of you who are getting the, well, it's either us or you're this type of evil thing, walk away. Let me tell you something. I have a little banner on my Twitter, and it says, cut your own path through life instead of following someone else's. Somewhere to that effect. As a matter of fact, I will read it to you right now. I will actually go to my Twitter profile, and I will absolutely tell you exactly what it says. Cut your own path in life instead of following another's. And it's this. So, it's one thing to give up a little ground on your position in order to get what you really want, what really matters, but it is not okay for you to make yourself absolutely miserable jumping through someone else's hoops, which will get you nowhere. And in the end, it will never be enough. Don't let that happen to you. Okay? Spirit animal. We have a canary spirit. And this one lets us know to sing our own song. We should be very secure in ourselves. We should be very secure in our abilities. We should be so secure in our positions that sometimes, no matter what someone says, we don't have to move. We don't have to defend it. We don't have to go to war over it. It just is what it is. And if you're on the opposite side of this, let me give you a friendly word of advice. The ultimatums, if you're throwing ultimatums out at someone, you will lose. Maybe you win for a little while, but eventually you will lose that person. I can give you an example. It's what we call the "you did not go to my church" syndrome. I encountered this a lot when I lived down south. Rumors were being spread. I did everything I could to curtail them. I can't tell you how many churches I attended, how many churches I was baptized in, things like that. And in the end, it did absolutely nothing. No one came to my defense. I was pretty much on my own whenever accused of being a devil worshiper or some craziness. And on top of that, I was being told I needed to stop listening to this music, stop watching these movies, stop playing these games, stop reading these books, and finally I said, once it hit a certain point, I went, no. The thing was, I pretended to give all that up, but in the meantime I was miserable because I could only do it in secret. And at some point I just said, no. Because here I was coming all the way over to their side, and when I realized I was past this midpoint, I just backtracked. I was like, no thank you. If this means that I have to do everything you tell me, I will not be that at all. We're encountering much of the same kind of stuff today. If you do not get all in on this issue, then you're that kind of a person. And oh, you don't want to be that kind of person, do you? Well, actually, I just don't want to be anywhere near you. You're taking a wild stance I can't back. And these people won't even listen to the most reasonable of arguments. Number one, do not issue ultimatums, and number two, do not give in to them. Stand your ground when you know that you're sitting on solid fact here. Don't compromise yourself. It's one thing to compromise with someone else who is being reasonable. It's another thing entirely. One of the things that recently came up was, if I sat in on a game and modern day social issues started coming up and it didn't make sense to me, I'm going to assume that that's not the game for me. I'm going to thank the person, I'm going to thank whoever's running the game for the invitation. Thank you so much. And I'll just get up and leave, and it's fine. And there are people that are just outraged by that, and I'm like, I don't care. I do not give a shit. It's just how it is. Don't compromise. It's one thing to compromise, but do not fully compromise yourself. Know your worth. Know who you are. Be secure in it. Okay, mentally, we need to check in on ourselves here. We got a King of Swords, we got Strength in reverse, and then we got the King of Wands in reverse. So we're starting out here, very secure. We know what we think. We know that what we think is right. We have mastered this conflict. The conflict is a little beyond us, but we're not exactly strong in it, you know what I mean? Like, when we're tested, when we're put to the test, we don't know how to kind of articulate that. We can be a little, how can I put this? We can engage in these lower forms of communication all we want. Goodness knows I'm as guilty of it as anybody. But at the same time, we are very much in our heads about things, and that's all we are. We're not about putting it out there. We're kind of consumed by a little bit of fear here, and it's never a good trait. As a matter of fact, we don't know how to put this in terms that others will often understand, and we're all afraid of appearing harsh. But here's the thing, you can be secure in your position. You can be a strong-willed person who, at times, you can be very severe. But here's the thing, at the end of it, you are this fiercely independent person, but you put on this display of arrogance, demonstrative of the perception of being right all the time. Here's the problem, you're generally pretty tolerant. But there's no deception here. Not one bit. You can be a very tolerant person, but the thing is, right now in your mind, you have to reconcile the being right and being tolerant. This is where you have to find that middle ground. We're all kind of afraid. We're all walking on eggshells, and that's starting to end. That is starting to end, and it can be a very terrible thing. As much as we're rejoicing at the end of this kind of mentality that we all must buy in, or we're X, Y, or Z, or all of the above, that we're some kind of ists or phobes, let me tell you something. If you're on the opposite side of this thing, if you have been anything but reasonable, it's going to be a very terrifying time for you. Because you've put people in such a position that now they are going to listen to the people who are ready to have them overcorrect. Pendulums. They swing in one extreme direction, then they swing in its opposite extreme. If you push people to extremes, that's exactly where they'll go. Okay? it's important now to temper yourself. It's important now to go, yeah, I might be overcorrecting there. Don't listen to one extreme or the other. Physically speaking, got a Ten of Wands here. That's in reverse. We got the Hangman, and we also have Equilibrium or Temperance. Starting with this Ten of Wands, it's not your burden to bear, bud. It really isn't. So the weight of the world is definitely not on your shoulders. Also, this Hangman is that of someone who's very much at peace with themselves. And in my opinion so far, this right here, this Equilibrium, this Temperance, was what I warned you about. Right here in the physical waking world, right there in the present time, what you put on, you should be secure enough in your position. You should have all the facts on something, and you should be able to reasonably work out what is extreme and harsh and where you're tolerant. You should be able to put those two together and say, okay, well, you know what? I mean, you can have your liberty and let someone else have theirs. You can have your sovereignty and let someone else have theirs. And you don't have to agree with it unless it's directly affecting you. If it starts to directly affect you, then maybe speak up a little bit. Spiritually speaking, we've got a Five of Shields, we've got an Eight of Shields in reverse, and we got a Nine of Cauldrons in reverse. Now look, this is that feeling of being left out in the cold right now. But look at where you are now. You see those guys around the campfire, and you see these other two just kind of like hobbling along. Let me tell you something. Right now, what I see is I see a lot of us. We are very much around that fire. There's always room for a couple more. And if you're one of the ones kind of trudging past it all, there's always room for you there. But you have to be willing to accept it, and you have to be and likewise, you also have to be a little welcoming yourself. If not all viewpoints are welcome at your table, then don't bother. And if your viewpoints are not welcome at a table, then don't bother. It's fine to walk away. But if you're going to make someone unwelcome, guess what? You're going to feel the same way pretty soon. Nine of Shields in reverse. This is going to be you not really moving. You're not standing still anymore. This is not a defensive position now. Because even though your intentions may be noble, maybe you're not really getting there, right? There's very little change. There's a whole lot of boredom and stagnation. But you may have developed some patterns of habit that need to be broken in order for the dragon you're riding there to, gain some momentum and carry forward. Let me tell you something. Especially when it comes to business, inertia is not something you want. That's very stagnant. You don't want to be stagnant. You want growth. Now, it can't grow in perpetuity, but you understand exactly where it's coming from. And to be honest, having that inertia, you should have had some time to really kind of take stock of what was going on. Sometimes it's hard to do. Now, here's something with that Nine of Cauldrons. Nine of Cauldrons. Have you done your completion yet? Have you gotten there? So there's no shame in taking a little time out. So, goodness knows you've had quite enough on your plate. So a little rest, it's a good thing. Celebration and feasting, they're good for the spirit. And it's good that it popped up in the spiritual column here, the spiritual row, because taking some time out for yourself is always a good thing. You don't have to be the world's problem solver, not 24/7. Some people should be able to learn from you and carry your lessons forward. And if they're not, how well have you taught them? Have you taught them? And then how much is their own laziness? You can't always be made to do it all. So, right here with the Angels and Ancestors card, we have a Mirror Guardian, we have Spring, and we have the Snake. Not big on snakes myself. So, take that break. You've earned it. You need it. Take it as a time of reflection. Get out into nature. Go for that walk. Remember when I said I want you to be around as long as possible? Yeah. Maybe it's time to sacrifice a little of that laziness. Maybe it's time to put away the fast food for a while. Hey, if you've been on that steady diet for a while, maybe it's time to have a cheat day. It's fine to have a cheat day. I do. But treat yourself however you haven't been. Today's a good day to do it. Also, might be time to kind of back off. Do you know that you can plant seeds all day long, but if you try to continue to water and fertilize them, you're probably going to kill them. Do what you can, then back off and let those seeds grow. Let them take root. And finally, maybe it's time to shed some old skin. Shedding old skin, letting go of the past, that's going to be needed. You can tell the same old stories, but in the end of the day, that's not going to make you right. If the past isn't propelling you forward in some way, then it's holding you back and you're dwelling in it. Very simple stuff. For the runes, we'll wrap this up there. We've got Wunyo, we've got Fehu, and we've got Othala. Wunyo, our raised flag of victory. Fact is, you've already won, you just don't realize it yet. You actually do have more than what you think. Look at your resources. Look at what you have. Remember what The Empire Strikes Back. Yoda's commenting that Luke is too headstrong and he's too old and he's not going to train him. Obi-Wan's like, was I any different? And he said to Obi-Wan, his mind was always drifting, never his mind on where he was. Look at what you have, not what you don't. And finally, if you're ever unsure, talk to those who came before you. If you're one of the ones who came before, impart the wisdom gained from your experience. And with that, we bring it full circle, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, what I see in this reading are two sides, and neither one is willing to budge for whatever reason. And it's time for both of you to budge. Stop being assholes. Especially to yourself, because it's not going to help. And at the end of it all, the pain and the strife will only continue. The discord will only become bigger. So it's time for you to make a decision. Which outcome do you want? Do you want it to be better for you? Better for all? Which one? Well, the good news is I'm here to empower you to make that decision. I'm not here to make the decision for you. That's something you have to do. I'm just here to give you the information. You make up your own damn mind what you do with it. But that's everything I got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed that the speech full intro is back. At least for now. Just remember, I love you all. I want you to take care of yourselves and each other. Always do what lights you up. And as always, shine on.